Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Christians are among the leading vaccine-hesitant group in Trinidad and Tobago. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 24th September 2021. Details when we return.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Contrary to reports in the public domain, there have been no deaths in relation to COVID vaccines in this country, says the Minister of Health in Trinidad and Tobago. This after a pastor claimed that the Pfizer vaccine was the cause of her son's death. Meanwhile, the Minister of Health is directly calling on members of faith, particularly the Christian faith, to stop encouraging people not to take the vaccine. TV6's Renessa Cutting reports.
Christian pastor. And at least he had the guts to come out and openly say and discourage people from being vaccinated. My fear is what is happening behind the scenes. Because when we talk to people and do our surveys, the bulk of people who seem to be vaccine hesitant are of the Christian faith.
The Ministry of Health had previously called out religious leaders for being partly responsible for anti-vax rhetoric in TNT. But today, the Minister of Health identified members of the Christian faith as major contributors to vaccine hesitancy.
With the way the Bible and the teachings of the Bible have been interpreted or misinterpreted.
This past weekend, a well-known pastor in East Trinidad made headlines after claiming that her son had died from brain hemorrhage 2 days after taking the vaccine. The ministry indicated on Monday that the matter and another incident were under investigation. However, on Wednesday, the ministry gave the vaccine the all-clear.
We can confirm that all our investigations to date, including investigations up to yesterday, and we can categorically state that no one in Trinidad and Tobago has died, passed, demised, after taking any of the COVID-19 vaccines in Trinidad and Tobago. There has not been one death attributable to COVID-19 vaccines, and as we continue to be transparent, we have said that of the 1 million shots administered, 5 have resulted in adverse events, and all, to the best of my knowledge, have been resolved.
However, the minister notes that 1,400 Trinbagonians have died from COVID-19, and with the introduction of the Delta variant into the community, the ministry is urging the population to take all precautions.
The Delta case that is in the county of St. George East. We know that this is an unvaccinated minor, and our investigations have shown that this individual would have most likely got infected when a gathering of friends and neighbors was held. The fallout from this is a number of people infected. Some of them were very ill and ended up in hospital. One of the minors was actually in hospital already. And as a result of this breach of the public health measures, we now have the information that one of the individuals has the Delta variant.
The Ministry of Health says these continued breaches of the public health regulations, together with a low vaccination rate and the threat of the Delta variant, spell disaster for TNT. Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
Education officials in Barbados are working on a roadmap on how to get students safely back to face-to-face learning. More in this Barbados Today news report.
Word of this from Acting Prime Minister and Education Minister Santia Bradshaw. Students returned to the virtual classroom on Monday, given the surge in COVID-19 cases in the country, including a rise in the number of young people of school-going age testing positive for the virus. At a press conference on Wednesday, Bradshaw said it was difficult to know that the island's school children are missing out on their education.
While we have, with the help of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, looked at some thresholds to be able to help all of our schools to move back to a level of normalcy, the truth of the matter is that especially at the public school level, we're going to have to do a bit more in order to allay the fears of parents, allay the fears of teachers, allay the fears of the unions, allay the fears of the principals, and certainly allay the fears of these children as well, in order to get them back into the school environment, even in a Delta environment. And with that, we have agreed that we will continue our consultations. I have a consultation coming up on Friday with the, in conjunction with the National Council of Parent Teachers Associations, where we're going to talk with the parents and we're going to talk about the state of where we are, the online environment. We're going to talk about the roadmap and looking at some of their concerns in terms of getting back to school. We're going to talk about some of the plans that we have to be able to improve the school plan so that we can readily take children, even if with a 6 feet distancing at some point as opposed to 3 feet. So it isn't to say that we are avoiding the issue of education. Right now, as you are seeing coming out every single day, we are as concerned as you are about these numbers.
The minister said she wanted to see more students, teachers, and ancillary staff vaccinated as officials work on that roadmap of getting school plans reopened.
Where schools and the management and the teachers and the parents have come to a position in terms of a threshold where teachers are vaccinated and parents are comfortable, we will work with them through the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and the COVID monitoring unit to allow students to be able to go back to school. But that is a work in progress. And so while that is our intention, the truth of the matter is that we are chartering a roadmap to be able to get us to that point. So in the same way that the Prime Minister said to you before she went off on her visit overseas, that we are working as a country towards a threshold that we want to get 10,000 persons a week vaccinated. Equally, we want to make sure that especially our 12 to 17-year-olds are vaccinated before they can return to school. We want to make sure that at least 70% of our teachers and ancillary staff are vaccinated within our schools if they are to return to school. And we also want to be able to acquire the relevant kits for testing to be able to give another layer of protection to all of the other students and certainly to our teachers within the school environment.
Over in Grenada, 12 deaths related to the coronavirus reported in a 24-hour period.
Health officials in Grenada concerned that COVID-19 infected persons are not seeking the necessary medical care and opting to stay at home. It comes on the heels of the country recording 12 COVID-19 related deaths in a 24-hour period, with some of the casualties being recorded in communities.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The Christian Council is calling for an end to politicization of the COVID-19 pandemic. Religious leaders have voiced concern over the ongoing hyper-partisan rhetoric in the wake of the general elections. They argue it is counterproductive in St. Lucia's fight to wrest the deadly fourth wave of the pandemic. Solange Alfred of HTS News Force reports.
Chairman of the Christian Council in St. Lucia, Christian Glasgow, is making the council's position very clear in light of a high-charged post-election season. The council is appalled over the apparent politicization of the pandemic in certain circles, while people are dying.
The fight against this pandemic is not served by name-calling and finger-pointing, but rather by the unified effort of all citizens to comply with the measures put in place by the authorities to combat this disease.
The Christian Council has thrown its support behind the robust vaccination drive undertaken by the Ministry of Health and Government of St. Lucia.
The Council supports the vaccination drive. Vaccine is not new to St. Lucia. For example, our children have to take particular vaccines in order to enter the education system. These vaccines have saved the lives of many. The Council strongly urges the congregations of its member churches, as well as all citizens, to become vaccinated.
The Christian Council, made up of the Anglican Church, Methodist Church, Roman Catholic Church, Salvation Army, Wesleyan Holiness, and Lutheran Church, placed a call to all religious houses to play their part in the fight against the virus.
The Council urges its member churches to offer their church compounds and institutions as vaccination sites and to enable the authorities to reach as many citizens as possible.
As for the debate surrounding the 24-hour Sunday curfew evoked by the statements of ex-Castries Central MP Sarah Flood-Bobre, the council remains firm in its stance on adherence to the public health measures instituted by the state to curb COVID-19 numbers.
I am not going to get into any question about Saturday worshippers and Sunday worshippers, because that doesn't hold water. Here in St. Lucia, for example, a particular section of our Saturday worshippers have taken the decision uncoerced to close their churches on Saturdays. So to be trying to deal with a Saturday-Sunday situation is really a non-question. What is before us is the question, what type of sacrifice we want to make to bring this pandemic under control.
The Christian Council has committed to sacrifice, prayer, and reflection as it works with other stakeholders in society to fight COVID-19. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
Members of Jamaica's notorious Klansman gang have been rounded up in the Spanish Town St. Catherine area by security forces. Details in this TVJ News report.
When police and soldiers swooped down on several communities in Spanish Town St. Catherine Tuesday morning, residents were caught by surprise. Their first stop, Lakespen. The security forces raided several properties, and one by one, several persons were led into this truck. Deputy Superintendent Linroy Edwards is head of operations for the St. Catherine North Police Division.
They are responsible for the recent decrease in violence in that area. And we have an intention of preventing further escalation. So our operation continuing, and the intention is to suppress criminal activity in that community and the other communities affected by crime in Spanish Town.
Rival gangs have been wreaking havoc in several communities across the division in recent weeks, and the police insist those responsible will be brought to justice. Among those arrested during Tuesday's operation is a female. The police say there's an emerging trend.
Females play a significant role in the gang activities. Only recently, we would have arrested a female on a minibus in the Damed area. That female is arrested and charged for illegal possession of a firearm. Her revolver was recovered on the minibus. That female is connected and involved with the criminal activities of the Klansman gang.
The security forces then moved to an area known as Belmore Lane in search for men believed to be linked to the One Order gang.
We managed to see some items that are uncustom goods connected with the sale of liquor and other items. And also in the town center where there are a lot of illegal activities, where the phones that are being brought for repairs are involved in activities of robberies and larceny and break-ins.
It's still not clear how many of the persons detained in Tuesday's operations will be charged, but the police believe that the arrests will lead to a reduction in the ongoing violence in the division. Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.